There's one hand up. You know, we have such a small group today, or not as large as there are seats, but I saw one hand up here, and I think if you just stood up and mentioned your question, I think we could probably all hear, and if not, I'll repeat it for sure.
Yeah, I think you need to repeat it.
Okay.
Facing the other way around for most people. Thank you for the insights. I'd kind of like to ask Excellency shed some light on the developments in the civil aviation sector in Saudi Arabia, notably the privatization of the Civil Aviation Authority and the rules that we hear about allowing foreign airlines to operate domestic flights. How you see those developments affecting the civil aviation industry in general?
Yeah, very good question, because that was a large part of your presentation. The question was about civil aviation in Saudi Arabia and how the privatization of that is ongoing, and what the functions of that will be moving forward.
Okay, I'll be happy to take this. Recently, up to a month ago, the civil aviation, including our organization, Saudi Airlines, it used to be under the Ministry of Defense and Aviation. And last month it was split from the ministry and became an organization in its own right, reporting to the Council of Ministers. GACA, which is the Civil Aviation Authority in Saudi Arabia, has been going through a lot of changes over the last 8 years. It has its own new bylaws and own board of governance, and they've been doing a lot of work on their own restructuring of the GACA system, being the regulator as well as the owners of the airport and running the ETCs, or the air traffic control. There is a lot of work that has been done on trying to segregate those. They've established advisory boards for the major airports. They have done one privatized terminal for Hajj in Jeddah. They just awarded a POT contract for the new airport in Medina. And they're going through a lot of changes, and I would see that airports will become independent companies as we go forward. As far as Saudi reorganization, we've been going through a process of unbundling of the airlines, the best way to put it. We used to be all bundled together. We have the MRO, the maintenance, the cargo, the catering, the ground handling, the various activities, including some real estate and some training facilities, and all of those has been organized as separate companies for the process of privatizing this. We have already finished with selling our catering business to 50%, 49% of it was sold to a group of investors, and we maintained 51%. We sold 30% of the cargo business, and we consolidated all the ground handling companies in Saudi Arabia into one single large handling company, which is going to come to the public as well. We're in the process of selling 40% of the MRO, the maintenance facilities in Jeddah. I must say we are also putting a huge facility for maintenance in Jeddah. We have two large facilities, one for the airframe, which is going to be, we're in the under bidding for the time being, and another engine facility with General Electric to be one of the few repair facilities in the Middle East, actually the only repair facilities in the Middle East. So there's a lot of work there, and this company is also being put as part of the privatization. The remaining will be the main airline, and the main airline will not have a speed in the privatization because, as I mentioned, we have 12 million passengers locally, and a lot of that is done through almost at a loss because the fare has been fixed for a long period of time. And because the fare is fixed, nobody's going to come and operate in a situation where they lose money. So all the discussion about other airlines coming to operate within Saudi Arabia is nonsense. It's not going to happen because of economics. Nobody's going to come burning their money. We welcome local companies to come and operate. In fact, one of the issues that the gentleman is saying, hey, we have a good service. We have a good service, but we are not benchmarked to anybody. And therefore, nobody appreciates what you do unless you have a competitor that will provide a similar service. So we actually lobbying for the government to come in and issue as many licenses as possible, because the sector needs it, the number of passengers needs it, and we need the competition because it's the best way to better your service and for the customer to have a choice. So the sector itself is vibrant. We expect when Jeddah Airport finish with we will be able to do a lot of hopping facility. We expect, because of Mecca and Medina, and as you know, those are the two holy cities in the world, there is no replacement for them. We expect the two cities to attract at least 20 to 25 million people every year that visits. They perform their religious, this can be done all year round. So we expect this aviation sector to be a very, very strong sector, and one of the important sectors that will also create jobs in Saudi Arabia.
Response. That is a real exciting development going on in Saudi Arabia right now. Any other questions from the audience? Right there.
Yes. This is designed for Mr. Miller and as well for His Excellency regarding the facilities that we are designing and you are designing right now. How long are these facilities designed currently to last?
Oh, good question. Did everyone hear that in the audience? The folks in the back too? The question was how long are the facilities that are being built designed to last?
To give you an example, at Hartsfield-Jackson, for example, our current terminal complex and concourses T, A, B, C, and D were opened in 1980. So you can see that there's already 30 years that's in there, and they're still meeting our expectations. One of the things we do is we design them for a life of somewhere between 40 to 50 years in hopes that we can, but what we want to put in place is an asset management program to make sure that we do corrective maintenance and taking care of facilities before we move forward. We're actually just started the process of updating the master plan, the entire master plan for Hartsfield-Jackson. We hired a consultant to get that started this summer. It'll take about 18 months to 2 years to finish that, but that's going to put in place a plan that'll say where we're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now. What facilities do we need to develop to get there? For example, we have 5 active runways today. More than likely, we're going to need a 6th runway. We have, when we open the new international terminal, we'll have 212, believe it or not, 212 gates where aircraft can park in the terminal facility. The plan will define how do we expand that? How do we get beyond that to have additional gates and additional facilities? So it's really a comprehensive plan of moving forward. We had to do this cooperatively with the airline tenants. Absolutely, we spent a lot of time, obviously, with Delta Airlines and soon to be Southwest Airlines, because they're coming in here. They're our 2 largest carriers, but we have to work as a partnership to make sure the facilities meet the demands in the future. So we expect Atlanta to continue to serve this community in the current facilities and expanded facilities for at least 40 years. And of course, by then, who knows what's going to happen with the air traffic control, modernization, some of the things they're doing with what they're trying to get fixed. But I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty good response. Lewis Miller calls for a 6th runway. I hear a headline right there.
Oh, yeah. In 10 or 15 years, don't I?
Well, just to add on, I think this it's a similar situation, but I think what's one important element that, at least from an airline point of view, is that each airport has to have its own, the master plan that looks forward, because the biggest problem that we faced in Saudi Arabia is you build a beautiful airport, but you don't have a follow-on on this. You need to maintain it well as having the scope that you can upgrade it as you go along, because you won't be able to put an investment for 80 million, you have 30 million, but you have to have this, the master plan that allow you to do that over time. Obviously, things change, technology change, and you need to make sure that you're updating this continuously. And I think this is the best development that has taken place in Saudi Arabia, that there is a master plan for each airport that provide the ability to expand. And when they did the Jeddah airport, all the infrastructure required to meet the 80 million or 90 million passengers is in place. So they're not going to be digging the airport again to do it. So that's been done finish, and they just add on the facilities as we go require. Obviously, you know, the facility will live as much as you feed it. I mean, you maintain it well, it will last for a long period of time. If you don't do it, then you're not going to be able to use it. It's going to have a frequent breakdown, and then, you know, people will move from one airport to another airport.
And that's another thing I should just mention. In Atlanta, for example, we just completed phase 2 of Atlanta Metropolitan Airport Capacity Study to say, do we need a second airport in the Atlanta metropolitan area? We went through an exhaustive study for phase 2 of that. It was funded by the FAA, and it came back and said a second airport could be used for origination-destination traffic, but it was economically not feasible. To build a new airport with all the infrastructure and where you were going, it would cause an airline cost per passenger of somewhere around $55. And currently at Hartsfield-Jackson right now, the cost per passenger is just over $5. So it'll be 10 times greater. But if you look at every major city in the United States, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, you can just go on and on, most of them have 2 airports. And there's a chance that 20 years from now, there could be a second airport in the greater Atlanta metropolitan area. But right now, since the study said it wasn't economically feasible, we're going to do whatever we can do to make sure we serve the needs for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think one of the issues that maybe that we can touch on is the speed of development. You know, a lot of countries will have different speed of development because environmental and lobbying group and everybody else. And I think that's one of the beauty thing about the Middle East. If the government decide they'll do it, it's going to be good. It's get done. I mean, versus you know, in Europe or you'll have to go through a major process to get it done. And that's,
Oh, yeah, right here in the front row.
Is there any application of green roofs now, green roofs that can help keep the buildings cooler, you know, growing vegetation on the roof, also by keeping the ultraviolet light off the roof, will allow the roof to last 3 times as long?
Yeah, the question was whether in the development plans for the airports in both Atlanta and Saudi Arabia, if there is any effort to create green roofs that not only produce energy but allow the roofs to last a longer time.
I'm not aware of it. So.
We've looked at that, and the cost was not there. We've actually changed the colors of the roofs, and we're getting it going forward. The new international terminal didn't do it, but the master plan, when we study that, will come back and say, should we consider that in the future? So it will be looked at. We've done a lot of things with energy efficiency, though, with LED lighting in the facilities, and do a lot of things to cut costs back that way. So.
Great. Okay, right here.
Are there any renewable energies being used in the new airports? Is that the major factor, or is that a question on the 2 possibilities?
We're actually looking at, we're doing a study now as far as to put some solar energy out there and some other things at the airport. We're looking at putting in some compressed natural gas facilities for vehicles that are coming to the airport. That'll all be studied to see what we might be able to do in the future. But we have a sustainable management plan that was just adopted that looks at what can we do in the future to do more of that, because it's important, obviously, for our survival.
Also using environmentally friendly, you know, vehicles and everything is very important, because for the people that works in the airport and the pollutions and everything else, it makes a big difference. And now, you know, airports are requiring that, you know, the baggage carts and everything becomes electric instead of the gas or gasoline usage.
The reason why I'm asking is because I would imagine that for Saudi Arabia it makes sense to use solar on the roofs because you have the sun all the time.
Well, you know, it's always an arbitrage between what is your cost of electricity and how much it costs you to put. And we happen to have a very cheap electricity that will not make it feasible today to do those things. But I'm sure when energy prices goes up, you know, people will think back, why didn't we do that? And this not only for airport, but even homes and everything else.
Very good. I can give a personal testimony about efficient energy use today, flying in from Savannah to Atlanta, and there was the MARTA waiting for me, which I was able to take right to the front door here. So a great transportation network here in Atlanta. Other questions? Right here.
Question for Mr. Paul. How would a small-sized buyer-driven or a supplier approaching the
Our experience, especially in Saudi Arabia, is very much of it is buyer-driven unless you have the time and ability to educate the potential customer. They love new technologies, new products, and they are very friendly with the Western teams that bring and present them. But there is a lot, you have to prove it. You do have to go through the trials of making them aware and getting it approved. It's worth it. We do it with several companies right now. It's just patience. But generally that's it. Find somebody who could, show some particular interest and then begin the efforts that way. It's hard to just get them interested in something that no one knows about. And that's general for most buyers, but it's very true in the Saudi Arabian market where they want to understand why yours is better than what's out there.
The other thing that I think you have to understand about Saudi Arabia is the emergence of technology and telecom. And you have a penetration rate in the internet and broadband in Saudi Arabia. We have, I think, the mobile penetration is 160% of population, and we have about 4 million DSL user or high, and a lot of those kids now buy on the net from Amazon, from everywhere around the world, and get shipped. So I think the power of the net will provide suppliers a great access to market that were closed. And the same thing, for people who are going to be in Africa who can connectivity and sell their goods. So I think this is an area where any supplier could do a lot more to improve its penetration through the technology.
And I'll even add a further point. There's a lot of talk about working with a local company and the importance of it. And I really feel where it creates the best value in your situation is that you or somebody needs to be there to present this product to as many people as possible. And it's very hard to have much success and penetration from so far away. So you could certainly do it by visiting on a frequent basis, but at that point, it's best to have local support in that sense anyway. So that's another reason local support is so valuable.
That's great. Any other? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Just a question for Saudi Arabia. I know you talked about the privatization and also in some of your non-core businesses. Just curious to know if you could compare your business model to the likes of Emirates, Qatar, and obviously that, especially Qatar has a very different business model than what it sounds like what you're trying to achieve. So if you can just compare and contrast what you're trying to achieve under the new model that you say you're achieving.
Well, we run two different business models altogether. We are domestic and international airline, where we serve 27 local airports with 12 million passengers out of the 20 million total passengers that we do every year. And we are the national airlines, and we do that, and we're the only airline in Saudi Arabia. And we have been doing that for 65 years. This is the business that we've been in this business. And therefore, our obligation is a much bigger obligation in terms of how we do it. Our cost structure is higher. I mean, when you have Emirates having only one airport and flies 7-8 hours, like a cycle of 50 minutes for every plane going in every day, it's different business model altogether. The cost structure and it's much difficult. However, when you look at the business model of Qatar and Emirates, 10 years ago, you will say this is not sustainable. It's just, they're just buying plane and getting there. But when you look at the development of the passenger count around the world and the growth, there is a lot of overflow of traffic that needs a location, and it needs a location somewhere around the Middle East to move people from east to west. And no doubt this will continue. I mean, the traffic flow, and I'm sure Atlanta Airport are expanding because there is a traffic flow. And this business will be there and available. And once we have an airport in Jeddah that give us the capability to do a proper hubbing, we will be in this business going forward. We're not there because the airport is not yet friendly enough for such a business. But once we get there, it's not a magic. It's planes an airport that you need to do this business. And it's going to be there. I mean, this is just the nature of the thing. As we discussed, airports in Europe are congested. They're not building a lot more runway. It takes time. In our part of the world, this is done. And when you see the Middle East today, you have actually almost now 6, 7 hubs. You have Istanbul, is beginning to be a major hub. You have Cairo becoming another hub. You have the Gulf countries between Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai, and you have Saudi Arabia. So you have now a big traffic and big capability in the Middle East for transporting traffic between East and West. And I think this is where the business opportunity for that comes through. And that's why we're putting a lot of facility for maintenance, because we know that this area of the world is going to require a lot of maintenance facilities. So the value-added side of this business is quite encouraging, because the business of airline business is not really a very profitable business anyway. We make money for everybody else except ourselves. No. Including the airport.
Okay, do we have any other questions from the audience? Oh, okay, right here.
Sorry, but I think it's should be directed towards Mr. Paul here. With regards to customs clearance, with all the economic growth and the products that are going to be in demand going into Saudi Arabia, how's the customs process there? And is there going to be a redesign or a new system put in place for customs clearance? And are there going to be any additional customs clearance areas within Saudi Arabia so that you might be able to ship in bond to a company or a client and then clear customs there?
I'll take a short portion of what I think His Excellency might be able to better answer. There are some unique custom requirements from our experience. You just need to know them before you ship. Certain paperwork has to be in order and match. Sometimes there has to be verification of its value. If you have all your ducks in a row, so to speak, then we usually don't have a problem. But we often have an error, a typo, some information on the bill of lading that doesn't quite match an invoice, and then it holds up. And sometimes because of different weekends, different time zones, et cetera, you can experience delays. That's why you need to make sure you know it, and often a local receiving company can help you there. As far as some of the changes in growth, Your Excellency, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think they're evolving to more technology, more use of e-freights and bill of ladings and everything else, and they're adding a lot of people, but by and large we don't see any issues with them. They open most of the, I mean, depending for perishable good, with they're 24 hours available for clearance, for medicine, for everything, and they're available everywhere where there is ports or airports. So. And as I said, they're evolving, they're getting better, the people are getting better, and you need to know what's your product and what you're shipping and what is the requirement. If you're now looking at the telecom side, you need to get some license from the authority, then you can go online and put all of that in place. So there are a lot of improvement in that end of it. But you need for first time you'll go through a learning curve, but after that it becomes simple.
Yeah, very much.
Very good questions from the audience. Do we have any others? One more. Okay.
I know this question might be directed to the sector, it's on the Culture and Tourism Authority. But what's the role of Saudi Airlines in promoting tourism to Saudi Arabia? Or is that they going to have tourism?
No, we do. Actually, it depends what do you call tourism. We don't like to call the Hajj and Umrah as a tourism, but depends how you want to classify it. But we do. We have actually now we have a program called Discover Saudi Arabia. That will bring a lot of people from Europe to come to Saudi Arabia. Mainly, they come to the west side for diving and for diving trips, and this has been vibrant and doing well. When you look at the number of visas and visitors from around the world coming to Saudi Arabia, it's grown by leaps and bounds. I mean, We used to have something like 25,000 from Turkey. 5 years ago, it's 200,000 now. And from, you know, sometimes cheaper to do a holiday in Saudi Arabia than for Indian than India. So, I mean, we are very competitive. They have good facility, and it's really competitive to come and spend some time at Saudi Arabia is a very low-cost country. I mean, the food is one of the cheapest in the Middle East. Housing is also cheap. So it's really a country that you can, it's cheap. It's not, you know.
The Saudis visas usually tourism visa.
The tourism authority took over that program from us a while ago, and I think we're going to reclaim it and start doing it ourselves again.
So airfare's cheap?
Very cheap.
Okay.
You know, it's too cheap.
We're going to get that direct flight
Yeah.
from Atlanta to Saudi Arabia here soon. Any other questions from the audience? Well, I want to thank our panelists here for participating. It's been a very lively discussion. I think we touched upon a lot of very important issues, and if there aren't any other questions, I think we'll call our panel for the day ended. Thank you very much.